Skype and talk a little golf with Brian Wacker. He is a writer for PGAtour.com. Brian, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Scott, for having me on.
Sure. Hey, Brian, the big news, Rory McIlroy has torn ankle ligaments. I'm wondering, is there any shot that he defends his title at the British Open in a couple of weeks?
Boy, you'd have to think very little given the severity of it. It's a grade 3 injury, which by all accounts looks like it'll be a number of weeks before he's able to get back to action. You also have to think about it just from the perspective of the golf swing and all the torque and pressure that goes into the golf swing. If this injury was on his right ankle, he might have, or he would have, a lot better chance of defending his Open title next week at St. Andrews than on the left leg, which of course is the leg that he turns into and posts up on. He's got a lot of swing speed, hits the ball very hard and very far. It's going to be awfully, awfully difficult for him to come back from this injury in just over 10 days' time.
Yeah. Do you think he should put the kibosh on playing soccer before he's approaching major tournaments?
Well, that's certainly been a hot topic and one that's been discussed a lot. But look, that's really never been Rory's MO. And I'll give you an example. If you go all the way back to Phil Mickelson in the early 1990s, he said, look, I'm not going to live my life with the fear of getting injured. Sure enough, he ends up breaking his leg skiing. I think his career worked out okay, but certainly the timing of it is not fortunate for Rory and brings into a lot of question to sustain an injury just 2 weeks prior to defending a major championship.
So we're not going to have Jordan and Rory, but we've got Jordan and Dustin, and we've got Jordan and this cavalcade, if you will, of young players. And I maintain, Brian, I would ask you, that you've seen as much golf as I have, that Tiger didn't have to wade through so many great young players as we are seeing on the landscape today. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think, look, certainly one of the challenges that Tiger faces in this latest comeback, aside from age, aside from injury, aside from all the mental and physical scar tissue he's gone through, is the depth of talent. The Jordan Spieths, the Rory McIlroys, the Patrick Reeds, on and on, the group of 20-somethings. These are kids that grew up idolizing Tiger Woods, not intimidated by him. So they didn't have 10 years of playing some of their best golf the way Sergio Garcia or Phil Mickelson or Adam Scott or some of his contemporaries did, and getting their brains beat in by this guy. So they're inspired by him. And quite frankly, this is an older Tiger. Rory said it maybe best when he said earlier this year, Tiger's on the back nine of his career. Look, that wasn't a slight. That's just fact. Tiger is almost 40 years old. If you look at the statistics and the numbers, there's a huge drop-off in terms of major success once guys get to 39, 40 years old, and those numbers only decline every year Tiger gets older. And then obviously the crop that you just pointed out, it just makes it that much more difficult for him to win.
He's Brian Wacker of PGAtour.com, brought to you by Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's. So, Brian, with Rory gone, how would you handicap St. Andrews in a week and a half? Where do you put Jordan Spieth, Dustin Johnson maybe, Tiger? Who would be your top three right now without Rory in the picture?
Well, I think you hit on two of them right there. Jordan Spieth certainly, I think, is the favorite going into that, even though he'll play this week at the John Deere Classic. Going back to the tournament he won his first title at 2 years ago. But look, this is a kid who played okay in the couple of championships that he has played in. Did play St. Andrews on his way to the Walker Cup a few years ago when he was an amateur. So he has a little bit of experience around the course. Dustin Johnson, of course, coming off that heartbreaking loss at the U.S. Open. But this is a guy who is a flatliner. He'll put that behind him. Look, it was a difficult loss. The conditions were not ideal. I think if there's anybody on tour who can put that behind him, I think it's Dustin. And then certainly you have to look at maybe some European players. Maybe look at a Graham McDowell or some other guys having success at the home of golf. I mean, we see it every year. There's a European player or several that pop up on the leaderboard and certainly have a chance to be there again on Sunday.
I was surprised, and you brought it up about he played St. Andrews on the way to the Walker Cup, but Jordan, I think, should have followed in the heels of Tom Watson and even Tiger Woods, and they both went to Ireland because they found a course over there, Waterville, that was similar in terms of wind conditions and just getting accustomed. And plus, if you go a week early, and you know, Brian, unless you've been overseas, of adjusting to the time element. So I know John Deere is in his heart, but his mind should be, and his body should be somewhere either in Ireland or at St. Andrews. And when you have a couple of days to adjust to time and to course, I think that's not enough.
Look, it's certainly going to be a factor. There are a lot of nuances to learn and to know. It'll be an experience for both him and his caddy who don't have experience there. Look, probably these guys can hire a local caddy, walk the grounds with them if they're there, it puts more pressure on them. Look, this is one of the reasons people love him, is because he does things commitment. Now, look, is he going to play the John Deere Classic next year, going into an Open Championship if he's on the heels of another historic run like this? I'm not so sure, but certainly he seems to think it works and can get away with it, and he'll find out soon enough. I mean, remember, this is a kid who nearly won the Masters in his first trip to Augusta National. Didn't go in particularly early there, and worked out pretty well for him there. So this is a kid who just seems to reinvent himself and sort of figure things out. Very high golf IQ for Jordan Spieth, and I think that that's going to be a big factor for him in St. Andrews.
Brian, really appreciate your time. Where can people read you besides PGAtour.com?
PGAtour.com, or of course Twitter at PGAtour_Brian W.
All right, good enough and easy enough. Thanks, Brian. Have fun over in Scotland next week.
Thank you.
All right, Brian Wacker of PGAtour.com.